been seen before. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President Donald J. Trump, he signs off there. Well, let's speak to Dr. Dan Diker, President of the Jerusalem Center for Security and Foreign Affairs. Thank you for joining us on BBC News. What do you make of that comment from the President? Iran promising even stronger strikes against Israel and U.S. interests in the region. President Donald Trump's warning that he could hit back even harder.
Well, very good morning to you from Jerusalem, the capital of Israel. We are under Iranian regime missile attack. We've been under attack for 47 years, and President Trump is the first U.S. president who's promised not only Israel and his Arab allies, but the Iranian people themselves, up to 50,000 of whom have been mass murdered by their own regime. Despite what your previous guest from the Iranian regime in Tehran has said, this is a regime that began its murderous recent history in kidnapping 52 Americans and holding them for 444 days, killing hundreds of Americans, killing a couple of hundred Brits on the way as well over the last 50 years, 47 years to be exact, and Israel and the Jewish people who have suffered enormously from terror attacks from Iran and its Hezbollah, Hamas, and Houthi proxies are now taking the counterattack position together with the United States in the interest of moral clarity and freedom, not only for the Iranian people, but for the entire Middle East. The Iranians finally are basically committing suicide, the regime is, by attacking all of its Arab neighbors across the region after having targeted Israel for so many years. So it's an historic moment right now for the world in the interest of security, of freedom and prosperity for the Middle East. Much better if this regime is put to the side. Let the Iranian people define their own future of freedom, democracy, security, and stability.
The Israeli Prime Minister talking about change in Iran. The Ayatollah has been removed. Key figures within the security system have been killed following the first day of strikes. But what is Israel's real long-term goals for Iran? Because at the moment we've heard of continuous strikes, bombings that are likely to happen in Iran, but nothing about what the country will look like going forward.
The country, the people of Iran have spoken. And that is why you have seen millions, several million Iranian people, women, teenagers, children, and men who have taken their present and their future into their own hands. They will determine the future of Iran. 90% of the Iranian people, between 80 and 90%, are pro-Western, pro-European, pro-American, and friends to Israel, the Jewish people, and the one and only Jewish state. That is what Israel hopes will be the choice of the Iranian people to really rid the world of this murderous regime that had been controlled by Khamenei. He is no longer alive. The religious leadership in Qom are in doubt, and we hope from Jerusalem on the eve of this extraordinary holiday called Purim, which commemorates the last-minute reprieve of certain death for the Jewish people 2,500 years ago, resulting in the death of the Iranian viceroy called Haman. And here we have 2,500 years later, the death of the modern-day Haman, the modern-day Nazi Hitler dictator, Khamenei. And this really paves the way for a very different Iran. And that is what everyone in Israel, Jews, Muslims, Christians, all hope for the people of Iran. They will determine their own future.
As we've been hearing from Iranians here on BBC News, they say that they've been left unarmed, being asked to take on a brutal government. They say they don't have the capacity to be able to challenge the military in Iran. And as we've been hearing as well, this transition could open the door for a more hardline leader in Iran. So you're asking them really to take on an impossible challenge.
That's a very good question. And yes, there are risks involved. It's possible that you could get a severe and hardline Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, leadership in place. But what we are seeing from here, from Jerusalem, and I think the United States shares this view, is that a number of senior IRGC leaders have been switching sides. Billions of dollars have been ferried outside the country, and there are indications that the Shah's son, RP2, Reza Pahlavi II, who has been called upon by a couple of million Iranians across 150 Iranian cities, Javad Pahlavi, the King Pahlavi. These are direct calls by the Iranian people for the democratically inclined monarch to be the interim leader. This is true that they have sticks and stones and are battling this murderous regime. But then again, both the United States and Israel are committed to ensuring that this regime has become so weakened that the free opposition, which, by the way, is now meeting as we have this discussion between us. They're meeting in London. They have been meeting in London for a few days. The most consequential group and gathering of opposition leaders in the history, in the 47 history of the Iranian regime. It is our view that that the prospect of this very diverse group of Iranian leaders will be the future leadership of Iran, and that the IRGC will collapse, and we will see a new morning for the Iranian people.
Dr. Dan Diker, a lot of people say that the regime collapses, you end up with a fragmented Iran, an Iran that will pose serious security challenges for the region. Israel appears to have no thought about the impact of that.
No, I think Israel thinks very clearly about the impact of that. It is really, frankly, Israel that has been quietly celebrated, even by our Arab neighbors. You notice that Saudi Arabia has taken a very strong condemnatory position against the Iranian regime. Many people mistakenly talk about the day after, what happens the day after the regime collapses. The first thing in the Middle East we have to recognize is, before we worry about the day after, we have to worry about today. And today is the necessary destruction and dismantling of this Nazi regime. It was Prime Minister Winston Churchill that said during the evacuation of Dunkirk opposite the Nazi regime in June 4th, 1940, that we will fight in the cities, we will fight in the streets, we will fight in the hills, and we will be remembered as for our finest hour. This is exactly what we are facing today, and it is our hope that this is what will happen. I'm really sorry to cut you off,
but we have to leave it right there. You're watching BBC News. Stay with us.
Hello there. It was quite a cool end to meteorological